48 nations, 3 host countries, 1 trophy. The world has arrived in North America, and the stage is now set for the biggest spectacle in sports history. When the 90 minutes end, our coverage is just getting started. From the tactical masterclasses to the heartbreaking drama, we are leaving nothing behind. From the Empty the Bench Network, this is your ultimate 2026 FIFA World Cup pop-up show. It's time to take it all the way to the final whistle. Welcome to Empty the Pitch. And now, here's your hosts, Callan McClurg and Trevor Williams. Hello again, my friends. Good morning. Happy Saturday. And we finally reached the end of the never-ending group stage with so much still to unpack and still so little time. Only 4 spots remain as we kick off the final day of the group stage, not until the late evening and early afternoon on this Saturday, June 27th, 2026. Hello again, everybody. Alongside Trevor Williams, Callan and Trevor, joining you here this morning across Columbus, Ohio, and San Diego, California. Trevor, what a chaotic week we've had between Team USA finishing off their group stage action. And now, though, Trevor, 4 spots remain in the round of 32. We don't know what the heck's going on, my man, but we have a full day of chaos coming everyone's way this afternoon and evening. Great to see you as always, though. T-Will, how we doing today?
Pretty good. I mean, Group L is looking pretty rough right now with England with 4 points, Ghana with 4 points, Croatia with 3, and Panama with 0. Panama sadly eliminated, but that group is about to get spicy for real today, ladies and gentlemen.
So with that, folks, excuse me, on the show today, we will talk all things that happened on Friday, including the very wacky, wild finish between Egypt and Iran. That'll be one of our lead topics. We'll also, again, unpack Team USA's upcoming match with Bosnia and Herzegovina. Also, we'll talk about the rumor mill churning, though, regarding a potential contract extension for one Mauricio Pochettino, Team USA's head coach, even after that loss on earlier in this week, though, against Turkey. And then we'll also, folks, break down every conceivable clinching scenario for today. Again, we have 4 spots left when it comes down to the round of 32, what we know, what we don't know, who's in action today, all that and more over the next hour. But, of course, folks, you can, of course, follow the show on social media. It's very simple. It's at Empty the Pitch on both IG and TikTok. Follow the network on social media across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, all that ETB network. And, of course, more importantly, please go like and subscribe over at youtube.com/ETB network for all things that we're doing here, including getting past the 2,500 watch hour mark and on our way now to 3,000 watch hours. So please go and like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, turn on notifications so you do not miss any of the action over what is a very long Saturday, again, of coverage, including plenty of pro wrestling content today. So there is major stuff going on in WWE and across the wrestling world today, and so much more on this Saturday. So lock it in right here for the day, right here on the Empty the Bench Network. All right, Trevor, we'll get things started, though, today and get a preview, or actually a recap of yesterday's slate of games. That, again, Trevor, as we said, a lot, though, was still to unpack over the course of yesterday and, of course, here on Saturday. Let's start with probably, I think, the most shocking game of the night or of the day. And I would probably say, hey, it's Egypt and Iran because of how that game ended. I think, Trevor, I want to start, though, with France pile-driving Norway to end that group's play in Group I. 4-1, France wins the match. Trevor, I'll think, though, I think there's more questions than answers with this match. Now, I think I had France as my pre-tournament pick to win the trophy this year with how they've been playing, though. But I, though, Trevor, look a little bit, though, in disdain at Norway. Why? Now, this probably, I think, though, Trevor, is some pushback, though, about this new tournament format with there being 48 teams and it's a deeper field. You're guaranteed, if you're the top 2, to get in. If you're the thirds, if you finish in third, you're kind of, stuck in the middle. But I, Trevor, disapprove of how Norway went about this match on Friday. And I say that for the simple fact they sit Erwin Haaland, who, again, has been a very great, player over the course of this entire tournament. and France manhandled them on Friday. I was very much, Trevor, stunned. Now, we could say, though, we could go right down, our own rabbit hole from Thursday about Team USA not playing their 9 starters, rotating in 9 guys, getting some guys some action. We can definitely say that for sure. But also, when you've got the group not won, though, I think that's the only difference I could say, though, Trevor, that group ticket was not punched yet for either of those 2 teams. So it really came down to that yesterday. Trevor, do you approve, disapprove about how Norway went about handling that game on Friday and they got pile-driven by France 4-1 from Boston?
I feel like there's so much strategy. Like now you look at a quarterback Mondaying it all the way through. France has to deal with Sweden now, and Norway deals with the Ivory Coast. So like on paper, them losing doesn't look too bad on, the grand scheme of things now. But maybe let's say they got a tougher opponent instead of the Ivory Coast. I think they would have probably played a lot more of their starters to try to avoid a bad matchup. But now it's favorable. It doesn't look bad. They can probably get out, but the next group stage, I won't say group stage, in the round of 16, you're going to either deal with Brazil or Japan. And now that's just an interesting matchup all the way across the board. Like you'll get out, but then it's just like you run into a juggernaut between those 2 teams. You're hoping that you get Japan because you probably have a more favorable of a matchup. But if you get Brazil in the round of 16, you're fighting Brazilian history and just the pure raw athleticism of that Brazilian squad. So it doesn't always work out taking an L early on. But, I mean, even looking at France, their round of 16 won't look pretty either. Once they get past Sweden, they're most likely going to face Germany, which that's going to be a gauntlet. Either way, the round of 16 for both of these teams is not favorable whatsoever. So take it with a grain of salt. Save your players as best you can, but at the same time, Dembélé of France got a hat trick within 32 minutes of that game. I think it's the second fastest hat trick in the World Cup. The last one, I think, was in like 1954 was the last quickest hat trick. So there's a gap between all that, but it's just the pure domination of the Golden Boot race for France between Mbappe, now Dembélé going for it. It's just like France is just here to just bully people and just outscore people at this point.
Yeah, and you know what? France's looks scary. As much as we talked about, maybe Spain being favored, but they had a bit of a lackluster first match. They obviously rebounded, though, very nicely on Friday and as the tournament wore on, where I think, Trevor, we even said, some of these, upper echelon teams, like in England, would need like a game to get their legs underneath them, coming from where they've come from with the weather not being as out of control as it usually is over in Europe at this time of the year, though. But France has just looked, I think, Trevor, through all 3 games, they have looked just terrifying, though, between Mbappe and then Dembélé yesterday, that they, I think, should be, I think, everyone's odds-on favorite right now, but still little, again, not, I'd say probably, I think, Trevor, I'd be a little disappointed, I'd say. I think it's the right word in phrasing regarding how Norway went about that, but regardless, it's still, though, maybe perhaps shakes out to be, as you said, though, maybe they get a bit of an easier route, though, but France, again, drubbing Norway 4-1 on Friday. Also worth noting, Senegal defeats Iraq 5-0. But, of course, Trevor, the feel-good story, and this game was actually wild, too, though. It was a great game. But, Trevor, how about Cape Verde making their World Cup debut? Smallest nation to qualify by population, Trevor, thanks to a 0-0 draw with Saudi Arabia. They are moving on in the World Cup for the first time in nation history. And, Trevor, I want to really applaud Fox because they did not leave that telecast right away to go to a different game or go back to the studio. They threw it back to the studio. But the live shots, Trevor, though, from that match held in Houston between Cape Verde and Saudi Arabia, those scenes, Trevor, were absolutely heartwarming for a nation, again, Trevor, that no one really can find on the map. Smallest nation by population to make the World Cup, Trevor. And all they've done is win over, I think, not just the American sports fans' heart, but the global soccer community's heart, though, to this whole tournament. I mean, what a story that this might be. Though I think their first game of the knockout round is with Argentina.
It's not the prettiest, it's great that they got to this point. I think they tied literally everybody, and they stunned literally the entire group field, got their 3 points, punched their ticket in. Now, if they can draw Argentina and win in penalty shootouts, oh my goodness. They have a great way to reaching the quarterfinals because once they beat Argentina, I guarantee you they can probably hang around with Australia or Egypt to get out of the round of 16 to make it to the quarterfinals. Now that would be a true Cinderella feat, great first time ever appearance, and it's like it's starting of something special. But the first roadblock is getting through Argentina, and after that, we might have an interesting Cinderella story right on our hands.
Also ending on Friday, Spain defeats Uruguay 1-0 with a very ugly skirmish breakout at the end of the match, so involving a red card for Uruguay from Estadio Akron. And then, Trevor, to end the night, though, Belgium defeats New Zealand 5-1. Trevor, Belgium's offense, I think they have woken up at the right time. I mean, and they dropped the hammer on the poor Kiwis yesterday.
I mean, that group wasn't finalized. I think because, like, from the span of the start of the match, the position just kept flip-flopping based on how many goals were being scored. Because I think Belgium was sitting in second, and they just needed to break the goal differential, and they just started going off left and right for goals to be able saying, we're going to win, and then we're going to win by goal differential, too, to guarantee us the top spot. It was a incredible feat, but then Iran, Egypt, what a way to close out that group. You thought Egypt was going to fall apart. They siege back. Then you get the offsides at the tail end. What? You just can't write a better script than that at that point.
No, Trevor, you can. And that game from Seattle was just off the rails. And it got off the rails, though, Trevor. And I think that the Fox broadcasters made a very harsh but great point, though, on that broadcast. Egypt could have won this group if they would have just won the game, I think, in general, over Iran. And it looked like that they changed their tactics after they tied the game at 1. That'd be Iran scoring to tie the game at 1. And they just sat back. They didn't really press. They did not really attack as much as they would have done so. They also pulled Mo Salah out of his match, Trevor, and he goes to the bench and has an ice wrap around his left thigh. And then you have the entire circus breakout of the final moments of this game, Trevor, where it's off the set piece. The goalie makes a save. The ball hits a, Iranian player in the box, and it, propels out to a man on the wing who puts it into the open net, or to an open net, though. But it goes to the long VAR, and his foot and hand was over the offside line, and it negates the game-winning goal. It's a yellow card, too, for Iran regarding the jersey celebration coming off, and then the troll glasses coming on for social media for the photographers. And the whole sequence with Trevor was just so damn chaotic. Me and my friend, because I went to one of my friend's house, we're both like, what the hell just happened? And then like, oh, wait a minute, they're VARing it. And then sure enough, they showed the angle. It was offside. But I mean, Egypt, Trevor, would have had nobody to blame, though, but themselves if that game goes that way and that goal stands up and they lose that game 2-1.
Yep, I guarantee you I would blame Egypt on that one. I understand trying to guarantee your spot, but pulling out Mo Salah now, him having ice on his thigh now, that's going to start to mess up your, round of 32 outside of that. But hey, you just got to get through Australia as best you can now. But it's not going to be an easy feat dealing with the angry koalas of Australia at the moment.
So again, folks, the finals, though, from Friday in the World Cup, France over Norway 4-1. Very shocking result there, as again, Erwin Holland does not play for Norway. Senegal over Iraq 5-0. Cape Verde clinches their first ever spot in the round of 32 out with a 0-0 draw over Saudi Arabia, while Spain beats Uruguay 1-0, Belgium over New Zealand 5-1, and Egypt and Iran draw at 1-1. We already had a recap for you folks on Thursday, that scoreboard. We'll do it again, though, to kind of catch you up with the rest of the week, though. But back on Thursday, Ivory Coast clinched their spot with a 2-0 victory over Curacao. Ecuador stunning Germany 2-1 in Group E play. The Dutch over Tunisia 3-1. Japan and Sweden tied 1-1, as we already had recapped, though. But Turkey defeats Team USA 3-2, and Paraguay and Australia, they also draw at 0-0 on Thursday. And then going back to Wednesday real quick, Switzerland over Canada 2-1. Bosnia beats Qatar 3-1. Morocco 4, Haiti 2. Brazil shuts out Scotland 3-0. South Africa also clinched their spot on Wednesday night, defeating South Korea 1-0. And Mexico clobbered Czechia 3-0 as well. Back to Tuesday real quick as we get ready to move on here for today's games. Portugal clobbering Uzbekistan 5-0. England and Ghana tied 0-0. Croatia and Panama go to a 1-0 Croatia victory, while Colombia beats the DR of Congo 1-0 in Group K action. So with that, Trevor, 28 spots have been clinched. 4 spots remain. Here is where things stand for today's schedule, folks. Panama and England, Croatia and Ghana will kick off at 5 o'clock Eastern time this afternoon. Colombia, Portugal, and then Congo, Uzbekistan at 7:30 Eastern. Then the late night games, Algeria, Austria, and Jordan, Argentina will all kick off at 10 o'clock this evening to wrap up the group stage action. Trevor, if there is one game you're closely going to watch today, which game is it? I've got to believe it's got to be that England match at 2 o'clock Pacific time today.
Yep. I would say also Croatia and Ghana is also another big one to watch because it's just neck and neck. Because it's like you could tie, and I forget how like the tie-breaking scenario starts to shake itself down for that group stage because Ghana has 4 and Croatia would have 4 points. So if there was a tie, Ghana would have 5, Croatia would have 4, but then you need England to like almost lose because of goal differentials for them to be eliminated or possibly locked in for a third place scenario. So it gets a little weird on your way of capturing it. The easy scenario is if Croatia wins, they're still in, but then you have to start looking at, does England lose? And at that point, Ghana falls to 3, but then there's just so many possibilities of what ends up happening because I guarantee you England's playing all their starters. They're going to try to put up so many points against Panama. It's just going to be unrealistic, and they're going to walk out with 7 points. And at that point, we're just going to be looking at Croatia and Ghana fighting for their lives for the number 2 seed.
So here's what we know, folks. Here is the official advancement in clinching scenarios for groups J, K, and L today. So the first 2 games, again, Panama and England, Croatia and Ghana. Here's what you have to know. England will advance to the round of 32 with a win or if they draw with Panama this afternoon. They win the group outright with a victory plus Ghana drawing or losing. But if both England and Ghana win, the group winner will come down to goal differential.
Oh, boy.
The almighty group differential. If Ghana will advance with a win or a draw versus Croatia, they, though, Trevor, win the group if they win, and if England somehow ties or loses to Panama today.
Oh, boy. I feel like you need a whiteboard of all the scenarios and just like write it down like, this is what you got, and just keep floating down the flow chart.
Now, it gets even funnier, Trevor. If Croatia today, they will advance automatically with a win over Ghana, which vaults them to at least into second place. But a draw leaves them at 4 points today, making them highly reliant on third-place wildcard tiebreakers. So Croatia is the biggest wild card of this whole entire group this afternoon.
I think they want to play spoilers. They have a chip on their shoulder, and they got to get Luka Modric to the promised land at least once in his career. If not, I forget if they got to the final before, but with him. But it's just one of those scenarios. You got to get your legend across the goal line as best you can, and it's tough. I don't think he has any ego-driven, like if you're dealing with like Cristiano Ronaldo where they have to feed him the ball. It's like he's a true team player, and you kind of want to see him get to that point to win, but it is a tough pathway to do.
Trevor, it only gets worse in Group K. Colombia plays Portugal, and then the DR Congo plays Uzbekistan at 4:30 Pacific time. So here's where this group stands, folks. Colombia has 6 points, 4 points for Portugal, 1 point for Congo, and no points for Uzbekistan, who right now, still though, Trevor, despite having no points, they still have a shot in this bad boy to perhaps vault themselves into a wild card spot for third place. Holy cow.
Can they do it? That's the real question. Can they do it? And they're going up against the Congo too, so it's very feasible for them to get that 1 point, and now you're in that third place discussion. So we'll see how they fare. I feel like the Congo's feeling confident, them dealing with Portugal early on, but hey, anything is possible when you have something on the line, something worth fighting for.
So here is how Group K will shake out today, folks. Colombia has already clinched their advancement to the round of 32. It comes down, though, Trevor, to simply winning the group today. Colombia can clinch the number 1 spot in the group with a win, or if they tie Portugal this afternoon.
Fair enough. Sounds easy.
All you have to do is not lose the game. That's all you have to do. For Portugal, I know. For Portugal, they will advance with a win or a draw versus Colombia. Well, no, but however, though, Trevor, here's where it gets interesting. Ronaldo's squad can steal first place from Colombia in the group away from them if they win outright today. So they have to win to clinch the group, regardless of what else happens beneath them today.
Okay. Because I think if they win, they get a total of 7 points, and then you have that
7
goal,
points.
and then you have that goal differential to really put the icing on the cake. Because I think they're up by 5 goals at the moment.
Now, again, you heard me, folks, say that Uzbekistan, who has 0 points, can somehow some way still get into the running for the tournament or for the round of 32. Congo, who has 1 point, they simply have to win over Uzbekistan for 4 points, and they can keep their hopes alive, Trevor, for a third-place wildcard spot if they win today over Uzbekistan, which, by the way, if we said that Cape Verde was a great story, Trevor, imagine if Congo gets it done today with what that country has gone through with, again, another massive Ebola outbreak, and it's been very difficult for them. We heard about the 3-week quarantine that they had to sit through when they first came here. Imagine that story, though, Trevor, about that sort of thing, especially as we've seen, though, Trevor, with the events in Venezuela, with the massive earthquakes that have hit, though. What a win here maybe for Congo might do to lift up the spirits of that nation right now. It's been battling this very, very damaging disease.
I think it'd be a great win for the country across the board. It boosts morale, too. But if they make a deep run into the tournament, we could get a 30 for 30 on this team, depending how far they
What if I told you?
Depending how things end up going. It's like, make it like a Netflix documentary. Be like, get the mic adjusted. Look, which camera? And like, let me tell you about that Congo team of 2026.
Now, this is where, folks, it gets very funny. I mean, if you've been enjoying the World Cup, you'll live for a day like this. If you're a newbie soccer fan, Trevor and I call this decision day. This is a big thing that they do in the EPL and MLS, where every game runs simultaneously, where you can actually watch in live, watch the live table, change every 30 seconds whenever stuff happens. Now, again, we said, folks, that Uzbekistan has no points. Trevor, if they can get a W today over the DR Congo, they need a win to reach 3 points for a mathematical but unlikely outside shot for clinching a wild card spot. I doubt that happens. But if they win this game today, talk about the drama we're going to be discussing next week on the show if that happens.
I'm just looking at their goal differential right now. They're right now at a -7. So they have like a long way to climb their way out.
They'd have to put what, 8 goals in the back of the net to win today?
Yeah. If we see that, it has to be a masterclass performance. A couple own goals thrown in there, and it has to be one of those chaotic ways where it's like, you can't see this coming. It's like, all right, they get 1 goal. It's like, all right, not too bad. And then right around, it's like they got to score in the 3-minute mark, the 10-minute mark. They got to score at the 27, 32, and then right with extra time for 45 to get 4 points in the first half. And they have to rinse and repeat in the second half to be able to pull that miracle off.
Oh, my goodness. Matt,
if that happens, I think I'm a script writer at that point.
Now, folks, one more chaotic group is left here. Group J has only one favorite right now, Trevor, and still, much like the other group of Group K, there is a chance perhaps that the last place finisher right now had a chance, but apparently, though, Jordan has already been knocked out mathematically. So what's left here, though, folks, in Group J? Argentina has 6 points and has already won the group outright and clinched their spot in the round of 32. They're going to face Cape Verde on July 3rd. Austria and Algeria need their results today. Austria will automatically advance when they win over Algeria, but a draw also gets them through, though the tiebreakers would determine if they finish second or third, depending on exact goal differential, while Algeria advances automatically with a win over Austria. But like Austria, a draw gets them to 4 points and puts them in prime position to advance. So, Trevor, a lot will ride, though, on the final game of the group stage, though, at 7 o'clock Pacific time with Algeria and Austria. Argentina is already through, so I doubt we'll see Messi play tonight in that game. But the theater of today, Trevor, and I'm going to be at work, sadly, when all these games happen, but I'll be keeping an eye on my phone for the Slack messages. But I am so stoked for how it comes down to the final day for these 4 spots.
I know that I want to say Jordan is, like you said, mathematically eliminated.
Yes.
But I feel like there is like the weirdest possibility because They're only back by 3 goals.
So,
And if
okay, it's doable then. It's doable.
It's doable, and it's like they have to beat Argentina. They're not going to probably play their starters, so there's a possible chance. Will they get 3 goals and pull it out? Because at that point, you kind of need Austria to win and create a bigger goal differential deficit for Algeria. And at that point, Jordan could pull their way back up into third, which is like the greatest long shot that we ever seen. It would be like equivalent to the highest odds Kentucky Derby horse slingshotting from last place and winning it in first place. That's basically what Jordan has to do. You need 4 goals, shut out Argentina, and then just hope that Algeria gives up more goals, and then you're in. Like, that's all you have to do. Worst case scenario is Algeria gives up 1 more goal, and then you get 2 goals. Now you're back in third place. So it's doable. We got to start believing. We pray for times like this.
Yes. And this, folks, is why you watch the World Cup and why you watch soccer, is you live for a day like today where it comes down to one match. But again, so many possibilities. Again, we'll do our best, folks, to recap those for you with the scenarios as the show goes on here until the top of the hour. But so much chaos is going to be happening today. So set those alarms and get yourself near your television. But again, folks, once more today's scheduled, Panama will face England, Croatia, and Ghana. That is in the 5 p.m. Eastern time slot today. So there's no early games coming up in the morning or early afternoon out east. Again, all the games are going to be in the evening. So 5 p.m. Eastern for the first 2 games, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, Colombia, Portugal, Congo, Uzbekistan, 10 p.m. Eastern, Jordan, Argentina, and Algeria, Austria. All those are the last games of the group stage, with still so much to unpack, and 4 spots remain. And it all boils down to the final day of the tournament for the group stage for where things currently stand when we get to the final 4 spots at this point in time. And I mean, the scenarios, folks, are so all over the place. Again, let's actually kind of try to put these in a nutshell real quick. England moves on with a win or a draw with Panama. They win the group outright with a win plus Ghana drawing or losing. But if both England and Ghana win, the group winner will come down to goal differential, which right now, Trevor, +2 for England, +1 for Ghana. So I know, Damo, that the Lions going to be watching that game very closely on the out-of-town scoreboard.
It depends how much extra time between each matches is, because if, let's say, Ghana has a little bit more extra time and England is now looking up and they'd be like, oh, Ghana just scored, and now they leapfrog them, that's going to be the most heartbreaking thing to witness or watch, and for the 3 Lions for sure. But it could be the complete opposite. Let's say Ghana's up and they finish their game and they're looking up, and then England gets the last chip shot goal and to pull back ahead and win out the group. So it's all boils down to extra time. How much are the refs going to give between those 2 matches? That we do not know. How much stoppage time for a down player? We could see a range from 4 minutes. We could see a range to 9 minutes. And that will dictate on how this game definitely unfolds for both of these teams.
Yeah, I mean, all the scenarios, folks, are just so out of control. Furthermore, that Ghana can win or Ghana will advance with a win or a draw with Croatia. They will win the group if somehow England stubs their toe and draws or loses today. Croatia can pull themselves out of a ditch, though, if they win over Ghana, which would vault them into at least second place, but a draw leaves them at 4 points and might make them highly reliant, though, on third-place wildcard tiebreakers. In Group K, Colombia has already clinched their advancement. They, though, will win the group outright if they win or draw with Portugal. Portugal, though, will also advance with a win or a draw with Colombia, but they can swipe first place away from Colombia with a outright W over the Colombians today. Congo needs a win over Uzbekistan to reach 4 points and keep their knockout hopes alive via the third-place wildcard spot. Uzbekistan, again, with no points in the table, can still get to 3 if they win, but probably will be on the outside looking in, though, for a wildcard spot. While in Group J, Argentina, nothing to play for this afternoon or evening, I should say. Austria will move out automatically with a win over Algeria. A draw will also get them through. Though the tiebreakers would determine if they finish in second or third place, depending on the exact goal differential, while Algeria can also move on automatically with a victory over Austria. Like Austria, a draw will get them to 4 points and puts them in prime position to advance. But Jordan, even though they don't have any points, and they are right now mathematically limited, though, because of goal differential, Still, though, a lot to play for as time goes on this Saturday. It's going to be just pure, Trevor, pure unadulterated chaos all day. And I think that you and me and Morgan are going to lose our shit, though, during the course of the day in the Slack channel today.
Like I mentioned earlier, when we first started this show for the World Cup, if Jordan finds a way to beat Argentina, we have to pull that clip back from somewhere, from the beyond the pitch, beyond the goalpost for it. And we'll find it back in a VAR scenario saying, I said it first and it happened.
So again, folks, that is where things currently stand for the final day of the World Cup. We'll again recap those scenarios before we get out of here in about half an hour. Folks, coming up later today, though, the world of pro wrestling and combat sports moves by the hour, but Christy Wilson keeps you informed on Between the Ropes. Join her every Saturday now at 4 o'clock Pacific time, 7 o'clock Eastern, for an in-depth look at the squared circle from executive extensions and streaming shakeups to the forbidden door drama across major promotions. Christy breaks down all the title shifts, the contract news, and the fallout of every major storyline and betrayal. Whether on the road to WrestleMania or the latest industry-shaking pay-per-view, Christy has the pulse in the entire WWE and wrestling industry. That is BTR every Saturday, now in a new time slot at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 o'clock Eastern, only on the Into the Bench Network. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel today at youtube.com/ETB Network. So a lot of great stuff coming up with Christy later this afternoon, including recaps of a full-fledged great day for wrestling, including the United Champions PLE happening today over the course of the early morning out here on the West Coast from Saudi Arabia. So a lot going on with Night of Champions, and of course, so much going on with AEW and TNA as well. Just I want to make sure I get my notes right here. But yes, Night of Champions will air today from the Kingdom Arena in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. This midday out here in Southern California. Jey Uso versus Oba Femi. Io Sky and Liv Morgan. Trick Williams will face Ricky Saints, Braun Breaker, Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes versus Gunther and Sami Zayn, and Tiffany Stratton facing Jade Cargill. Those are your 6 matches for the card tonight. And of course, Christy will have a full recap of that event later this evening back here inside of ETV on Twitter and on YouTube. Trevor, the big news still coming out of Team USA camp as they prepare for Bosnia and Herzegovina on Wednesday, which will be our next show date, by the way, for those that are wondering. It'll be after Team USA plays their next game against Bosnia and Herzegovina after the 8 p.m. kickoff on July the 1st from Santa Clara, California. But, of course, Trevor, though there was some bad pub regarding Mauricio Pochettino's post-game press conference, but, Trevor, finally, though, the needle now moving on Coach Pochettino for Team USA, as ESPN sources do confirm that Team USA has in fact, begun to lead positive talks with a potential extension of the contract for Mauricio Pochettino per ESPN sources. Coach Pochettino's contract with Team USA runs through the end of this World Cup cycle, and the former Tottenham, PSG, and Chelsea manager has yet, though, to still say what his future plans will be after the World Cup does, in fact, come to a conclusion. Sources, though, do tell ESPN that Team USA would like to retain the coach, who is 54 years old, for another 4-year contract of the 2030 World Cup in Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. The idea would be to also retain the same core of players currently on the roster, though the news was first broken by The Athletic on Friday, with some sources saying talks have been positive so far, but no decision will be made until the World Cup is officially over, with them facing Bosnia and Herzegovina back in Santa Clara on Wednesday. Trevor, I would really hate to say this already, but dare I say, in the last, I'd say, 16 years roughly, or 10 years, or 16 years, 20 years, am I dumb to say that Mauricio Pochettino, Trevor, might just be the best men's soccer head coaching hire that we've seen in our lifetime for Team USA, with all the years of Bob Bradley, Bruce Arena being retreads, the one-off with Jurgen Klinsmann back in 2014. There's just something, Trevor, about having Poch leading this team. I don't know if it's his sideline demeanor. I know he kind of popped off towards the media on Thursday when they got upset by Turkey, saying, you guys didn't do enough to praise us. Yeah, because we were playing a game. You know, Colin Cowherd made the comparison on his program on Friday. This was playing a Week 17 NFL game when you've already clinched everything and you're letting the backups play. It's not the end of the world, though. But, Trevor, I really have loved how Poch has gone about leading this team. And I think it's probably what this team has needed is some leadership like Poach, who's been there and back. Again, it's not to talk down on Bob Bradley or Bruce Arena or even Jurgen Klinsmann, but just something, Trevor, about how like the team seems to connect to Poach when it comes to the coaching philosophy and the style. And I would really, Trevor, I think I really feel personally, this would set the U.S. men's national team back a few steps on the game board if they don't retain him and he goes elsewhere, maybe to go back to the EPL or go elsewhere. Because what he's built here, man, the culture he's built, the style that he's built here, more importantly, Trevor, the core of this roster, who I know we have really wanted to see blossom and break out, and they're doing so right now, other than one blip on the radar, and you've got that Bosnia match coming up on Wednesday. You get through that, you got to face Belgium if they do, in fact, get through their next through their game. But, Trevor, your thoughts, though, about Poach being hired, but also what is your thoughts right now on this contract negotiation happening? And do you see a future where Poach remains the head coach for the upcoming World Cup in 4 years?
I'd say based on what we've seen thus far in this World Cup, just make it like an isolated scenario.
Yes.
We lost to Germany in our tune-up match, 2-1, which is, still incredible based on what Germany has done to teams thus far in the World Cup. But also, you have our great home opening match going 4-1 against Paraguay, then stunning the world, beating up on Australia and the Angry Koalas. And then, on top of that, sure, losing to Turkey does hurt. But like I said, it's week 17. You're resting your players. You already clinched things. You had 9 new starters out there, getting them experience, which is growing the men's team, which is very important. When if someone goes down in the tournament, they can step up there. You already got some of the butterflies out of the system. But even still, that goal was last minute of extra time. So if you break it down, to me, that's a draw at its finest. And I'm like, that's fine. I'm fine with my back. It's drawing. Sure, the back line gave up a little bit, was a little too Swiss cheesy at moments. But what are you going to do with 9 new starters? I'm not going to be too upset about it. But the real thing is going to boil down to is how does he handle Bosnia? That is the question that everyone's going to say. I don't want to be jumping to conclusions saying we should hire him. If we get embarrassed against Bosnia, then we might have to do some little reconsideration on what that contract looks like. But if we get out and then we go to the round 16 and let's say we play Belgium because their team hasn't been decided who they're going to go up against. Let's say we get Belgium and we come down to penalty shootouts and we miss by 1. I think that's worthy of a contract extension. At that point, it's just a player missing that penalty kick because he hasn't been in that pressure before. So, like I said, we get out of the round of 32, make it to 16. I know since it's the home tournament, it's quarterfinal or bust, but it really shakes down to see what we get out, because that quarterfinal right now, from the teams that are kind of set, it's just Spain that we know about at this moment in time, because we're still waiting for Group K for second place, Group L for second place, and the second place winner of Group J. So we don't know what that seeding is going to look like before we can say quarterfinal or bust. Because like if we get to the quarterfinals and we're getting Spain, I don't think we're pulling out of that one with a victory unless it's a miracle on an ice moment and we win in penalties. That's the only way of us getting out of Spain alive for the most part.
Trevor, you make a great point. I do wonder, though, how the expectations of where we want this team to go maybe factor into the equation. And I think it would be very horrendous if they do not retain him after they maybe get bumped out Wednesday, or if they don't reach the quarterfinal stage. Again, we both said quarterfinals or bust kind of in a way. I said that on Cranium leading up to the preview show on Wednesday on June 9th, or June 10th, I should say, before we had the preview show on the 10th. That, again, there's just something like that really seems to resonate with Pochettino coaching this team. And again, I don't know what that is, though, whether it's how he's gone about his business, whether it's, maybe just, that maybe having the outside perspective. Again, they tried that, though, with Jurgen Klinsmann. It didn't really work, though, because of how he kind of, in a way, was a bit of a bully towards players sometimes, though. We lived through the Berhalters and the arenas over and over, and then the Bob Bradley era where there's, like, I don't know, like there's just something that just seems to stick, with where things have been with Poach. Now, we can, though, folks, also say that he has been connected, though, with Brentford as of last June, plus with his former club of Tottenham, who back in March named Robert De Zerbi on a 5-year deal with as the new head coach. And Poach even said at the time that him going back to the Spurs was not realistic. And also that CEO JT Batson of the U.S. Soccer Federation discussed the possibility of him coming back just a month ago. So I really, Trevor, do you at all wonder, perhaps, T. Will, does the knockout rounds maybe further dictate what happens here? Like I said, let's again, as you said, though, what if they don't get past Wednesday? What if they get knocked out in the round of 16? What if they get to the quarters and they lose there? Or what if they get beyond the quarters? Does how this team or how this team finishes, I should say, does that maybe play a role, though, with either the Federation or even with Mauricio himself, though, when it boils down to maybe do I stay or do I go, depending on what happens over the next couple of days here?
I think so. I think how you get through the knockout stages and how that rides into momentum to the other games will kind of dictate on how this contract will unfold. Like if we're skating on the skin of our teeth through the rest of the knockout stage and we're going to penalty shootout after penalty shootout and we're somehow coming out on top, I mean, he's kind of setting up the lineup for the penalty shootout as well. So it's like there's a lot of factors that go through, but you got to take each game one game at a time, see how it unfolds. Does it look good? Did we play aggressive? I mean, we've been playing aggressive from the entire tournament so far. Like we're seeing USA attack, try to up to an early goal. And outside of the Turkey match, it was like we were kind of like driving a lot of the matches on how we want to go through. I think the team can definitely do that against Bosnia. We can control our own destiny. But at the same time, if you let Bosnia hang around, they will find a way to slip right back in it at the worst possible time. And now you got to deal with an extra game on your hands, an extra half before you even get the penalty. So it's like you got to be mindful, try to get up early so you don't have to deal with Bosnia lurking in the background. But at the same time, if they have that true storybook fashion, they could somehow magically pull 2 goals out of nowhere. And now we got a tie game on our hands. So we'll have to wait and see what July 1st brings for the Stars and Stripes.
Trevor, I also want to kind of focus a bit. We didn't really get a chance to talk about this after the game on Thursday with them faltering to Turkey again, very much, last second goal, the 8+ minutes, and it was a breakdown again by the back line. Trevor, I also kind of wonder, though, if it was really necessary, though, for Poach to call out the American-based media. Now, again, we might be guilty a little bit, though, here on ETP, though, because I think that we kind of maybe reacted one way and then maybe said, maybe some concern here, even though they have these lineup changes, though. But, of course, Trevor, after the match on Thursday, Coach Poach, though, was both combative and even seemingly upset and flustered with the post-game media scrum after the U.S. lost to Turkey 3-2 on Thursday, that he found the questions to be a little bit weird, and the focus should be on the fact that Team USA won the group, regardless of what happened in that final game, where, again, we've long called it a wash, though. Pochettino both said in both English and Spanish that it was a little bit sad that no reporters congratulated him and the players on clinching the group after winning their first 2 games, adding that he did not understand why there were questions about the possibility of lost momentum following that narrow defeat in which to a team that was already knocked out of the tournament and, again, had played all of their regular starters. Trevor, I wonder if that's the right way to go about this whole thing. That I feel like, though, Trevor, that there was a lot of praise already sent the way of Team USA for winning the group, though. Now, it may not have been that much, like, oh, my goodness, like, this is the best thing ever because we won a group, though. I think, though, because too many times, Trevor, we all get stuck in that mindset that we only settle for the bare minimum with the men's national team, that you have to, open your mind and say, we need to go and do this. Where I think, though, if you win that game on Thursday, that right there is another feather in the cap, though. That's the first time ever that Team USA wins all 3 of their matches in the group stage. Whereas we sit on Thursday, how many times have we seen this team, Trevor, shoot themselves in the foot, though, in the group stage with a bad loss or a bad tie or a win at the, or a miracle win just to move on to the next round, though, and then they limp in there and they lose in the round of 16 or round of 32. So, Trevor, how do you think, though, Poach handled himself, though, with the post-game media availability that really doesn't that he really didn't appreciate, I guess, the tone of the questioning after the loss on Thursday? I think, though, there's a right way to, that there's a way, though, or that I think it's fair though to critique the loss, but also that we shouldn't have reacted that way of like, oh my God, the sky's falling.
I think it's because it's a home World Cup. If it was somewhere else, I feel like we probably wouldn't have questioned them that much. But since it's the home World Cup and Mexico was able to sweep their group and get all, 9 points, it was like one of that scenarios. Like we could have done the same thing. We could have put all of our, starting 11 out there, easily got the victory, walked out with our, 9 points, and everyone will be talking about how great this USA team is, the momentum's building and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I think we have to look at saying we did what we had to do. We had a fair enough group for us to control our destiny. It wasn't like we got paired with England or France in our group, or like Portugal. And then like, I think in the 2016 World Cup, where it's just like, yeah, out of our matches, I know there's one loss and we're fighting for 6 points or maybe for a possible 7, but it's just one of those scenarios. Like this group was ours to take. I don't want to diminish the quality of opponents that were in our group because they all fought hard as best as they could to try to win that group. But at the same time, we didn't have to deal with the powerhouse. Like we had all the momentum we got through. We should be praising, I wouldn't say praising this team through the wazoo, but good job. But the job's not done yet. You got through, but now this is where the true campaign gets underway. You start your journey. You were collecting your stuff for your nice RPG MMO that people like to play. Get your materials, and then now you start your adventure, and now you're knocking off your quest to reach the Holy Grail.
Yeah, I get it about like that we can maybe feel like you left something on the table when it comes down to how you finished out this tournament. By the way, Trevor, I just saw a post real quick. If all goes according to plan, this could be the field for Team USA. Bosnia and Herzegovina, round of 32.
Okay.
Belgium, round of 16. Spain in the quarterfinals, as you mentioned. France in the semifinals.
Oh, God.
And if need be, Leo Messi and Argentina in the final from East Rutherford, New Jersey.
I'm sorry, Callan. That is one of, if not the toughest pathways to win a World Cup when you're not a powerhouse.
Woo! You know what that reminds me of? All the years of you trying to beat your favorite video game, and it's boss after boss after boss. And this is literally what that feels like right now, is boss level, and then the final boss happens to be Argentina.
Yep. I would say the only thing that is probably equivalent to it thus far is for the college football landscape where Ohio State won the title. That is equivalent to the same pathway where you have a high-powered Tennessee team, the Oregon Ducks coming off of the Big Ten championship feeling all dominant. Then you roll into Texas at Texas in the Cotton Bowl in AT&T Stadium, and then you finish out with Notre Dame. But let's say Georgia was healthy, and then you would have had the top reigning SEC team breathing down your neck. So, like, that's equivalent what Team USA has to do right now. Spain, France, Argentina on the back end. I mean, if we somehow pull that off, that is a documentary on itself. It is equivalent to the Miracle on Ice, but to an extreme end, because Argentina was the last World Cup champion. Then you had France was the previous one after that. Spain is the favorite, could have been for this cup. And now you have how Belgium's now waking up on top of that now. So it's like, it's a perfect storm of teams that you need to beat to say that you're the best. And it's a great way to look at it for the most part.
Couple of updates, folks, as we get ready to sign off here in about 10 minutes or so. But what we can tell you regarding today, again, there is a lot to unpack still when it comes down to where things stand, when it boils down to what is left to clinch here today with all the scenarios. We can, though, tell you that Leo Messi will be on the bench to start this game later this evening against Jordan, per the team head coach Lionel Scaloni, that Leo will be a substitute tomorrow to play later. We'll announce the team tomorrow during his Friday news conference. Argentina has already qualified for the next round as the Group J winner after defeating Algeria and Austria. The champs will take on Cape Verde regardless in Miami next Friday. Trevor, and reading that right there, that's going to be an Inter Miami home game right there at Hard Rock Stadium next week when they play Cape Verde in Miami.
I really hope that Cape Verde does the unthinkable and stuns Argentina, so we don't have to deal with a possible Argentina in the final type of scenario for us. But I mean, that pathway, most likely, I do agree that Argentina will probably make their way to the quarterfinals, if not semifinals, depending how things shake out within that group. So I would say that section of the bracket.
Here's what else, folks, we can tell you. So here is where things stand with what is already known for matches regarding the round of 32. We already know about Team USA facing Bosnia and Herzegovina coming up on Wednesday, July the 1st, though. But what other matches have already been set in stone right now? So here's where things stand. Coming up tomorrow, just one game, South Africa and Canada from LA. Then on Monday, Brazil, Japan, Germany, Paraguay, and the Netherlands and Morocco. Then on Tuesday, France and Sweden, Norway, Ivory Coast. Team USA will face Bosnia on Wednesday. Then on July 3rd, Argentina, Cape Verde. Trevor, out of all those games that we just read off there, is there one particular game that stands out, though, for the knockout round coming up as it gets underway with one game on Sunday?
I would say the biggest one that's probably going to be the most thrilling to watch is the Netherlands and Morocco. Just based on how Morocco has been playing on the tournament and from the previous World Cup in 2022. I mean, this Moroccan team wants to do another stunt and just start beating up teams and getting their way through. Once they get past the Netherlands, I don't think they're going to have any problems with South Africa or Canada. So I could see them getting to the quarterfinals once they get past the Netherlands without much of a hesitation. After that, it gets a little interesting because Germany or France coming out of that, going to the quarters, that might look very eerie, but I feel like they're that team that will say, we can beat any team. We made it to the third place game last cup, and we have nothing else to fear. I think they have the mindset to do it. They just got to have the luck on their side a little bit, and things come through. But then the other one that I like to watch is Brazil and Japan. That's going to be a fun one. It's going to be electric. I want to see all the Japanese social media accounts really go hard for this Japanese team to get through, because what better way than to have a nice little manga come up for Japan beating Brazil, because you have the perfect story arc. And if they go far in this tournament, in this knockout stage, I guarantee you there will probably be more people watching soccer anime after all this is said and done.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree, though, about the Dutch playing Morocco and then Brazil playing Japan. I mean, selfishly, away from Team USA, I mean, you got to watch Ivory Coast and Cape Verde. Can they somehow, some way stun either Argentina or even Norway? Who knows?
Yep.
That would be something. But with that in mind, folks, let's again reiterate and reset the day for you here. Again, folks, the first games will not take place until 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern today, 2 o'clock Pacific time. So game times are in the 5 o'clock, 7:30, excuse me, I've got the schedule wrong here. My apologies. But the games that we have, though, again, will be at 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4:30, and 7 o'clock Pacific time this afternoon and evening. Here's, though, where things stand. Panama in England, Croatia and Ghana in Group L. England will once more advance to the round of 32 with a win or a draw versus Panama. They win the group outright with a victory plus a Ghana draw or loss. If both England and Ghana win, the group winner comes down to goal differential. Ghana will advance with a win or a draw versus Croatia. They win the group outright, though, if they win and England does draw or lose. Croatia will advance automatically with a win over Ghana, which would vault them into at least second place. A draw, though, leaves them at 4 points, making them highly reliant on third place wildcard tiebreakers, with Panama already eliminated. Group K will kick off at 4:30 Pacific time. Colombia has already clinched their advancement. They will though win first place in the group with a win or a draw versus Portugal. Portugal could still sideswipe them with a win or a draw versus Colombia, and if they outright beat Colombia, they will move on as the first place finisher. Congo has to get a victory over Uzbekistan to reach 4 points and keep their knockout hopes alive via the third place wildcard spot. Uzbekistan, despite not having any points, could, though, still unlikely, though, but still get in via a wildcard spot with 3 points. To round out the day, though, for Group J, Argentina's already moved on. They have nothing to play for. As we already said, that Leo Messi will be a substitute today for Argentina. Austria will advance automatically with a win over Algeria. A draw also gets them through, though tiebreakers will determine if they finish in second or third place, depending on the exact goal difference. And Algeria will move on with a win over Austria. But like Austria, a draw will get them to 4 points and puts them in prime position to advance. While Jordan, who again does not have any points, has already been knocked out mathematically, but still might be able to shoo their way in. Who, though, really knows? Well, Trevor, great show this morning or afternoon. Any last thoughts? And more importantly, again, what do people have to do if they're going to go watch the World Cup today across their hometown marketplaces?
Make sure you support your local bars and businesses while you're out there. Get that nice, good, crisp, well drink if you have that, or a nice cold brew from your local brewery. And if you choose to drink, ladies and gentlemen, please be smart and use Uber, Lyft, or other means to get to and from those locations. If you're close to a bar, feel free to walk to it if you live by one. It really helps out. Keeping that money in your local community really helps things out long term. Please do not go to Buffalo Wild Wings. Yes, I understand your local community does work there, but it kind of leaves the community once you partake in there. But like I said, go to that bar. If it's a dive bar that you enjoy, that is perfectly fine. Find a soccer bar that's very passionate, or maybe for some of the teams, there might be a German restaurant. They might support Germany, so you might have a great time there. So experience different food cultures too within your city. So if there's like a Moroccan place, they might be showing the Moroccan games. Like there's things that you can do to really support and try new cultures during this World Cup. Because like I said, any money that you spend in your community goes a long way.
Oh, man, that just made me think of like going to a German place to have a Stein and a big-ass pretzel with beer cheese.
Yes. Or a big brat and a nice big old dunkel.
With some sauerkraut and some onions on there. But yes, folks, definitely please help support those local businesses. Or even better, if you're like me and Trevor and you live in an MLS marketplace, go and support your local club while rooting for your country. Trevor, I mean, I love it, though, that Fox Sports on social media, they have seemed to have put out video clips almost every game day from the watch party here in San Diego that, again, I will be able to get to eventually as my schedule lightens up a little bit, though, and, you know, and time's on my side. But, again, they've been holding watch parties, folks, at the famed plunge. If you remember Top Gun 1, where Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer have their argument in the locker room, that was filmed at the plunge in Mission Beach. And the watch party's directly outside of that building. Trevor, it's like 30,000 people deep on the boardwalk. You got the sun going down in the evening. You got live DJs. You got food. You got beer. You've got players of SDFC showing up. And I know that Columbus has been doing that. And every MLS team has been doing a really great job of these watch parties, Trevor. Even if you don't go to a restaurant, go support your local club like SDFC or the Crew, and then go support those small businesses around town too.
Yep. Do everything that you can and really soak in the memories of the World Cup. We don't know when the next U.S. one might resurface, so go out and really support it. I know we have the women coming up, I think in 2031 about. So we got to be prepared for that because that's the next time to go out to support local businesses. And then also during the Olympics in 2028. But outside of that, kind of do that year round. Outside of these world special events, just go out and support it. Even if it's like a casual night out with friends, it's better doing at a local spot than going to a prime commercial chain every once in a while.
And especially if especially if the tournament wins you over and you become a soccer supporter, as me and Trevor are, go and find those bars again. You know, I mean, especially out here, Trevor, I mean, you know very well, people out here will wake up at 5 a.m. to watch the EPL when they're back in season in a couple of months. And I know that you and I are that way sometimes too. So again, folks, go support those local businesses, especially if you live in San Diego. Again, if you are a Team USA fan or a soccer fan, again, I would again recommend O'Brien's Pub on Convoy. It's in Kearney Mesa. It's about roughly 5 miles from my house. Outdoor seating, full patio. Every game's on, full tap list, great food, great atmosphere, great vibes, great people. That is the home for the American Outlaws chapter of San Diego here at Chapter 10. So please go and check them out at O'Brien's. Again, Trevor has gone to plenty of his places too, where they've had like the passports for stamps. When you go X amount of times, you get reward points for that or what have you. You get some drink koozies, whatever. So again, please go and support all of those small businesses. And also, more importantly, as Trevor actually has it right here,
There we go. Support your local businesses, ladies and gentlemen. The World Cup passport, as I get stamps, and sometimes there's even discounts for supporting it. I know for this one, I get $2 off each beer for each match. So it's definitely worth the incentive to go out and support your local businesses.
So, folks, please do it. And again, a major thank you to those who, again, joined us. We, though, folks, will see you again. As a reminder, our next show is Wednesday after Team USA faces off with Bosnia and Herzegovina. That'll kick off at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. We'll be on air to recap that match and get you all set for the remainder of the week, though, when we come back the following Saturday to recap the entire first round of the round of 32. For our producer, Nick Morgeson, and for Trevor Williams, I'm Callan McClurg saying good day on this Saturday. Again, folks, games coming up at 2 o'clock Pacific time here this afternoon across Fox and FS1 with so much still so much in play as we enter the final day of the group stage. With that in mind, folks, until Wednesday, have a great day and enjoy the remainder of today's action. We'll see you back here Wednesday after Team USA takes on Bosnia and Herzegovina on ETB. Have a great day and a great weekend. Bye-bye.